Tonight, there are new questions about how Nashville DA Glenn Funk has used taxpayer money.
That comes as investigators continue to examine whether Funk himself got a no-show job before he took office. A DBI spokesperson tells News Channel 5 that agents are continuing to investigate the scheme first uncovered by News Channel 5 Investigates to help Funk boost his state pension and get state health insurance before he took office.
The spokesperson described the TBI investigation as, quote, active and ongoing. Now, our News Channel 5 investigation has uncovered questions about Funk's decision to put his campaign manager on the Metro payroll.
And Chief Investigative Reporter Phil Williams has been trying to get some answers.
And tonight, Glenn Funk's office has stopped answering my questions about whether his campaign manager got paid even when he didn't show up.
It is District Attorney General.
After Glenn Funk took office back in September, one of his first acts was to fire a group of veteran prosecutors, most of whom had supported his opponent.
What we're going to do is make sure that the office, the assistant DAs in the office, reflect the community.
Those firings created an opening for Funk to hire his campaign manager, Democratic operative Kevin Teets, into a $60,000 a year job. Teets, a licensed attorney whose resume shows a career spent mainly on advocacy, political campaigns, and public relations, celebrated on Facebook with a photo of his new ID as an assistant district attorney.
He was a political operative, and his resume clearly points that out. Not a prosecutor.
Steve Glover is a member of the Metro Council's Budget Committee. What really surprised him were Teets' paid time off forms. They showed that just 3 weeks after he went to work, Teets began taking days off. A total of 8 days at first. A month later, another 10 days. A handwritten note described that as discretionary paid time off per GRF. Those are Glenn Funk's initials. Then beginning in January, another 20 days off, essentially a whole month with pay.
Well, it tells me that I question a number of things that are going on here.
Glover questioned why the forms were dated and signed by Funk long after the time had supposedly been taken off, and how Funk's campaign manager could have possibly earned so many days off so soon after going on the Metro payroll.
I think the thing that's probably the most disturbing for me as a council member and me as a taxpayer in Nashville is the ethical question here. Because ethically, would I want to do this to the taxpayers of Nashville? For me, the answer is absolutely, emphatically no.
But as News Channel 5 Investigates first prepared to do a story, Funk's office came back and said these reports were all wrong, that Teets was actually at work in the courtroom a lot more than these official records suggested. So we pulled security records for the DA's office and the courthouse showing where Teets used his security card to swipe into work. Those records do show that he swiped in every day for the first 3 weeks. Then there was a smattering of no swipe days over the next 3 months. Still, he does appear to have been at work more often than not. But right after the first of the year, a team leader in the DA's office sent out this email saying, seems Teets has moved on to another political election. That election?
Bill Freeman gives back.
Bill Freeman's campaign for mayor. In an email to News Channel 5, Teets said, I expected to be hired by Bill Freeman's campaign in early January, but that did not happen as soon as he thought. He added, I only remember there being a few days, I think less than a week, that I wasn't on the schedule at the DA's office.
I got to make sure that my team is in place and make sure that every docket is covered with the best lawyers possible.
But even then, Glenn Funk kept paying him. In fact, records show Teets stayed on the DA's payroll for another 5 weeks. Security records show just 5 swipe days in those 5 weeks, and court records show only 4 days where he's actually listed on dockets as being in the courtroom. And while Funk's office claims Teets was in the courtroom on many other days, they refuse to provide any documentation to back up those claims. If they say he was in court, they should be able to document that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Glover says something just doesn't add up.
There has to be a trail for if this individual was working. If he wasn't, then I think the taxpayers got cheated.
Now, what seems very clear from the records that were provided to us is that the campaign manager did not have to follow office rules, that time off must be approved in writing in advance. All of his forms were dated after February 6th when he left the office. And while we cannot say exactly how many paid days off he got, it does appear that he got more than he would have been entitled to under either state or metro vacation rules.
Now, you reached out to Mr. Teets, but he didn't want to go on camera to answer your questions.
That's right, but by email he insisted that the security swipes are not an accurate reflection of when he actually worked, although again, he could not provide any documentation of what work he actually did in those last 5 weeks that he was still on the payroll.
All right, thanks, Phil. Now you can see the swipe records and other documents online. We have them for you on NewsChannel5.com.